So, let us give those poor Christian victims a break. They really cannot help themselves. They need an external Messiah for basically everything, and without him, they can do nothing. So, let's just let them be for a while. Let's talk about a few other dubious, destructive, cultish systems. Let's start talking about NLP. And by the way, I will only be talking here about systems that I've personally encountered, some of which I have actually believed in. I leave it as an exercise to the valued listener to find out which ones I personally ever actually believed in and which ones I didn't. Let's talk about NLP. And maybe we can derive some interesting conclusions from that after this series is finished. So, for those of you who didn't know, NLP claims to be a system of communications aimed at improving your communication with others and yourself, helping facilitate change in any way possible. It's often used in sales or to convince people in politics, quite prominently actually, and in coaching, self-improvement, stuff like that. It originated, I think, in the late 60s with Bandler and Grinder. The founding myth of NLP has it that Bandler and Grinder analyzed the top communicators of their time, therapist Eugenia Satir, hypnotherapist Milton Erickson, Frederick Pauls, who invented Gestalt therapy, and one other guy whose name I cannot remember. I think it is said that they analyzed their communication strategies, their body language, their language patterns, whatever, modeled them, and then created a system from that is highly effective in self-improvement and will make basically anything and everything possible. So, it is next to impossible to look at the whole field of NLP because it's so huge and such an awful lot of stuff is reclaimed for NLP. The most prominent stuff might be gaining rapport, mirroring, eye movements as indicators of thought processes, representation systems, conversational hypnosis, working with light trances, and some odd things that NLP has called formats, like little recipes that are supposed to help you, for example, get rid of a phobia, the fast phobia cure, as it's called, for example. So, here is what I rather think actually happened, limiting the discussion to one very small aspect of NLP, namely mirroring and its applications in various forms. As far as I know, there was actual research conducted, and it is, as far as I know, actually proven fact that people who know each other well and who like each other will start mirroring each other's body language and probably even some of each other's metaphors. Quite obviously, my mother and father and I will use somewhat similar language simply because we've been around each other for so long. So yeah, we just take over each other's behaviors to a certain degree. And I think I've read about one scientific field experiment actually, which was rather amusing. A few psychologists went to the pub and watched people flirt, and they found out that people started synchronizing their movements, like when one person took up the glass to drink, the other person did the same. Okay, so that is what, as far as I'm informed, is actually the case. The other fact that I think actually also has some merit is that our inner representations of feelings as humans are obviously bound to some kind of physical representation. So we will hear voices in our head, not the bad way. I mean, really, if you focus on what's actually going on in your head, there are voices. That's just the case. We will have images, we will feel feelings in our body, like heart racing, sweat, heat, cold, whatever. And possibly we will have smells and tastes as well. Something might taste bitter to us, you know. So the NLPs say if a person talks about something that tastes bitter, it's not just a metaphor that they use, but it is actually the way they represent a certain kind of feeling or thought process to themselves, a bitter taste in the mouth. This, as I said, as far as I know, there is something to it. I'm not quite sure whether you should really take it that literally. You know, like every single time they say something about a bitter taste, they actually have a bitter taste in their mouth. I don't think so. But anyway, back to mirroring. What the NLPers then did is, okay, they went, okay, since people who like each other have rapport, will mirror each other's body language, well, why shouldn't we try to reproduce the effect of liking each other, of gaining rapport, by mirroring each other's body language? So if you have, I don't know, a client, or if you're talking to a customer, if they do this, you do that. That's the idea. You shouldn't do it too obviously, sorry. But that's the basic idea. So far, so good. I might consider this probable. I doubt that they ever cared to check it with reality. I think, because that's the way that I've been taught it. That's the way I've experienced it in NLP courses, which I took for some year, 1 year, something like that. They just relied on the feeling, subjective experience of the practitioner, you know? I am mirroring this person and I'm somehow feeling something and therefore it's true. This alone is an insult to critical thinking. But that's not where it stops. That's the smallest part of it. They then went on and said, okay, so we now have this mirroring stuff going on. And it works. Of course it works, because I'm the huge Grinder, Bandler, blah, 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 it works. And we have these representational systems of our thought processes. So, quite obviously, since mirroring works on a physical level with body language, therefore, why should it not also work with language, verbal language? So, if you use that metaphor of a bitter taste in your mouth, and I want to sell you something, I might use the metaphor of sweet taste. Why not? So, let's say I want to sell you, I don't know, I want to sell you a car, a used car, and you say, but the price tastes bitter, and I might say, but imagine the sweet taste of when you tell this to your wife, or whatever, I don't know, bullshit.